Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the campaign. We are joined by 4 of our 5 players again. We have Lost Without a Trace playing Twiggy. We have Scorched Ace playing Kassidius.
Woo!
We have Greymane playing Vanauth. And Morden56 playing Luther. In our last episode, our team received the blessings of the Grand Illuminary before heading off into the Vallyuda Pass in an attempt to retake the Black Gate at the far end of the pass from the forces that have controlled it for the last 128 years. Also, Ace, or Kassidius rather, was recruited by Lady Emily, Countess of Harper, to act as a field researcher for the archaeology. Greymane has received his company's orders, and he and Twiggy will be... I've got to get character names. He and Twiggy will be in the reserve unit, which will be at the back of the line, guarding the siege weaponry. And Luther, as far as anyone can tell, is pretty much just along for the ride.
Pretty much.
So, the company sets off into the pass. When you are in Vallyuda and the Vallyudan end of the pass, the skies are a brilliant light blue, and the sun is very clearly overhead. As you move further and further into the pass, it takes about 4 days for the siege engines to get into position. Remember, they don't move quickly on flat ground, and this pass is difficult to traverse for wagons. As you get into the pass, you notice that the skies turn slowly at first, but more menacing as you go deeper and deeper into the pass. You have heard theorized that this is because this world sits on a nexus, which makes it a very short trip between planes and allows for extraplanar energies to be stronger here than in many other places of the prime material plane. If there's even one person in the party that cares deeply about that information, that's probably about it, because this is some heavy duty stuff, and the rest of you are just like, lands do weird things based upon how elements interact with them and how planes interact with them. And that's just the way the world's always worked, so you don't know any different. You're told that there are worlds where that doesn't happen. You're pretty sure that you've never traveled to any of them and likely never will. So, Kassidius, Luther, there is basically 3 different segments of the caravan. There is the advance guard, which are the heaviest, sturdiest, most powerful shock troopers that the Kingdom of Navarre has access to at this point. The middle section, which is mostly Navarran regulars, and the bulk of the forces that are heading out. And then the third part of the wagon train is the detachment that will be the security detail for the siege engines, which are going to be blowing a hole into the Black Keep. They are probably going to be stationed about a half mile away from the wall. Probably a little bit closer, but only as close as they need to be able to see the wall and strike it from where they are. So, where do the two of you intend to hang out?
I'm probably as far back as I can be. I'm here to document. I'm not here to fight.
Luther would probably be in the back as well, mostly because being that far back means I get to see where all the expensive stuff is.
Okie doke. From here, you can see that in the security detail for the siege engines, there is probably about 200 Navarran regulars. In addition, there is one company from the Order of Vigilant Light, and there are 5 or 6 illuminaries, the acolytes of the church, that are being sent with this detachment as well. Probably even more with the other ones, but while they're still only clerics, they can do 2 things very well. The first is heal, the second is cast radiant magic, and devils have a habit of not liking radiant magic very much.
Do we know anything? I mean, what will we know about that company, the Company of Vigilant Light, you said?
Yeah.
Is there any information, just like someone that's not a part of it, but like probably has seen it before? What would we know about it?
You would recognize that this company is, you wouldn't know what its name is or if it has one, but you do recognize that this company is led by Captain Zydik. He is a staple, shall we say, in Vallyuda. He has been part of this company or part of this order for 20 or 30 years, as far as you know. He has always been in the front. He has always stood with his troops. And it's only been the last couple years that when there are martial parades put on, that he has finally taken the captain's right and started riding on horseback in the parades rather than marching on foot at the front of his company. So you know him to be a very stable man, a very proud man, and a soldier who has seen many seasons of warfare. The Order of Vigilant Light is one of 4 paladinic orders that operate out of Vallyuda, and all 4 orders, along with the Navarran regulars, have been engaging in consistent battle with Asmodeus's forces over the last 128 years. So they all have a lot of battlefield experience that has been the reason why the pass has been retaken.
Okay, thank you.
Aside from that company, and they all wear metal armor, chain, splint, banded, or plate, depending on rank, as well as large winged helmets and green cloaks, green tabards that have a stylized sun, which is the mark of the order. In with that company, it's going to be about a 4-day trip to the wall. You're about a day in at this point. During your time moving with the 3rd detachment, you have noticed that there is another figure in green that is traveling with the Order of Vigilant Light, but not the green of tabard and cloak, but rather is some form of animated plant. And she speaks on very familiar terms with all of the paladins in turn. Other than that, you're not even familiar with what race or what arcane creature that could be.
Do you
you ever
I'm not
seen
imagining
one of those
that, right?
before?
Yeah, we're not. How much did you drink before we left, or this morning?
If you count water, a lot, but
No. I mean, I'm just making sure we're not just general hallucination. Have you ever seen a plant talk before?
There was this one. Never mind. Yes, I have. But it was a tree, and it was very tall, and it had a face. But I also might have drank too much. Yeah. I've never seen one walk. I'll give you that.
Okay, fair. And then he'll just like flip open his book and just starts kind of sketching, because this is a weird thing for him.
And but seems everybody else knows her, or knows it.
Them.
Yeah, them. But wait, is the tree bringing food to them? Did you see that?
What you were observing is a deep, leafy form. There is some vague wrap that has something that might have once been the lines of a tabard or something. It's kind of there. Might have been thrown away. Might have been a rag. Might have become a rag when she tried to wear it. We don't know. But yeah, she's got a large half barrel that she's trotting around with, going, and what's for you, you got one already, but I like you, can't have another. And she's just going around.
And on the opposite hand, you're seeing two guys just kind of slowly. You ever do that, like, hey, look over my shoulder trick? Well, we're just constantly like spinning, being like, hey, look over my shoulder. No, hey, come here, look at this. And we're just kind of like, slowly like shifting spots so we don't seem obvious. But on my part, I'm super obvious.
Oh, yes.
He can't hide for his life.
No.
No. You are bloody obvious to the wee plant. And as I'm going down the line, coming closer to where you are, I've noticed you.
It's coming. Act natural. Act natural.
Before we go any further, Ace, do you have a small companion with you by any chance?
I do.
Okay.
Hanging on the bottom of my backpack, like hooked on the bottom, there is a small bat.
Small bat.
A small bat.
Okay.
Good to know.
So
Just kind of
when I'm
chilling there, hanging
approaching
upside
you,
down.
whose back is to me in this exchange of stuff?
And she would have gotten closer. Luther would have turned Cass, so Cass was not the one pointing towards you. Because he already knows that Cass cannot hide anything.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope.
So yeah, I've got my big old half barrel here full of things. And I'm like, hi boys, you hungry? You're not my normals, but we're on the march. Big push. Hello, little friend. I'm like at the bat, and then you want one? I got a little one here.
The bat like peeks up and
its head turns to you. It blinks a couple times.
You want this? Yeah, it's good. Taste.
You notice that a fruit bat of this size, normally their eyes are like almost charcoal gray. You see a slight yellow hue where it would normally be just a regular charcoal gray.
Make you a special little guy. I got a special little treat. It's a muffin. Muffin.
Drops off the pouch, flies up, swoops above your head, and then swoops across where your hands are to grab, like, rip the top half of the muffin off.
A muffin top. A discerning creature of much taste. Yes, the tops are the best. Well, then here, I guess you get the other half. And a hand just comes over your shoulder. The hand is a dark, molten kind of brown, but you'll notice the nails growing out are a new leaf green. Does not look like paint. There is also the smell, of course, of the baked good itself, but also a small other odor, which you're like, can't tell if that's pine or I don't know. But yes, it's just over your shoulder.
I will just like kind of awkwardly take it. Is it, for my information, is your hand like skin textured or is it bark textured or
It is a rough skin texture. Like I have a lot of calluses, but I'm not actually coated in bark.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not as thick as bark. It would be more similar to like almost like a vine skin.
Okay.
So, but having aged a little bit more and taking on a little bit more of a
Almost like a
of like a
fruit leather.
similar, yeah,
Okay.
Similar.
Thank you.
And for you, everybody must eat or you can't walk. If you can't walk, I have to carry you. So eat and walk.
Thank you. What's in the muffin?
These are all different fruit-based things. They're pretty light because I did prepare them on a light rest. They all have a bit of spicy heat to them right now. And actually, that would give you all +1 to initiative.
until your next until you take your next short rest, you'll have a +1 to initiative.
What fruit did I get and what fruit did he get?
Okay. They're honestly probably going to be a bit of mixed fruit things. It's just a big old batch. They all would have been stone fruit mixes, like pear, nectarine. Those are what were in season in each store.
Okay. Beautiful.
So, Gray,
thank you.
You have seen
Thank you.
Twiggy talking to these two. Do you walk over? Do you take any action? What you got going on?
I just kind of watch.
Okie doke.
Okay.
When did you make these? As he's taking bites out of him.
It's good, right? Just a little while ago. Last time we had to stop because you kind of need a fire to make with the baking, but okay. It's what we do.
You cook really fast. Is he still eating?
I gotta get more muffins out. We've got everybody needs to get one.
I don't think I ever caught your name. And he'll kind of hold out his hand.
Muffin goes back in the thing. Hello, I'm the Twiggy.
And just like
Yes.
You see Luther blink a couple times when you say that.
Cass.
Cass and gesturing to Little Bat.
Echo.
Cass and Echo and
Luther.
Luther.
Pleasure to meet
Cass
you,
and Echo and
Twiggy.
Luther. Okay. You guys get hungry. Come to the kitchen. Ask for what Twiggy made. I've got some minions. They help me make the kings. I cook it better than they do. Can't say to teach them well. It's okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I will. Do you wander off?
Yeah, I see Van over there. Like, Van, did you eat? I scamper away from you and I go over to Van. And
I didn't think
have a
muffins.
muffin?
I didn't think muffins were supposed to be like spicy. Like not fruit muffins, but it's interesting. It's almost like a cinnamony like heat.
It's something that I've never had before, and I'm not sure what to do with this currently.
Put it in your face!
I mean, I'm still eating it, but I'm just kind of like, it's that, you take a piece, you eat a little bit of it, you're kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm safe with this or not.
It's not bad, I'll keep eating it.
It's interesting because it's like a wheat muffin with some stone fruit in it, but also chili powder.
Right.
So
It's got the paprika. It's a little bit of warm on the top.
And I'll just like, as I'm biting, I'll just kind of like reach around and feed Echo too.
yeah.
Echo got the better part of that.
Echo did get the better part.
Echo has the top and is basically like tearing the stone fruit out and like not eating the rest, but just eating the fruit.
Doing what a fruit bat would do.
Yep. And I'm picking out the fruits and handing it to him and eating just the wheat part. So mine is like just wheat and chili powder. I got none of the sweet.
Lucky you.
Hey, Cash, it looks like your nose is running. You might want to take care of that.
Yeah.
It's the downside of being, one of those studyaholics that you are.
Yeah, just.
Okay.
Where did that's great. You said we're you like 1 or 2 days out?
Yeah, you're probably still about 2 days from the wall. The way it works is the pass is 61 miles long and has been cleared of pretty much all threats. So you don't have to worry about sneak attacks, random encounters. It is likely that there are probably some minor attacks on the front company, but the third one back, nothing is getting through far enough to get here. If you see anything flying through the pass, it is getting perforated well before it gets anywhere near you guys. Yeah, you are escorting wagons and materials to make siege weapons right now. And everyone knows that none of the 3 detachments can do anything if those siege engines are destroyed. So as soon as anything takes flight, it reads a glorious amount of arrows. So you really don't have to worry too much about any activity or anything like that coming in to where you guys are. So it's just a slow, leisurely ride through the mountains with 200 people that you barely know.
Right.
Like, that's all there is to it. Kassidius has pulled out the map on a few occasions. And you have noticed that as you're going through the pass, the generic pencil sketch of the pass has been altered on the map so as to more accurately depict where there are turns or twists or deviations within the pass itself. So you are very much aware of the fact that the magic of the map is working, at least on your end, and you assume that it is on the other end as well.
And while I when I pull it out and I'm looking, I want to almost scan it to see if it's giving me more information than I'm catching, if that makes sense. Like if it's outlining oh, there might be a cave up there that we can't see from our vantage point, but somehow the map is able to magically pick up. So I'm trying to keep track of that to kind of be okay, there might be something up here. Be ready, be aware. It
might be. The mountains of the Vallyuda Pass are very, the entire mountain chain is very steep. That's why this pass is historically so important. This mountain chain separates what was the Haegrillon Empire from the Kingdom of Navarre. And in the southern end of both kingdoms, this is the only crossing point. So you have to go several hundred miles north or south. North to get to the where the mountains go into foothills, south to get to the ocean. Within a several 100-mile span between 2 kingdoms that did not like each other much, there is one crossing point. Now, the reason why this mountain chain is so impassable is, number one, it is a tremendous amount of sheer surfaces. Number two, living in these mountains, aside from a number of various monstrous creatures, are a race called the Mountain-born. They are rumored to have been related to stone elementals in some way. They have a very stone-like appearance, very rough skin. They are generally 7 to 8 feet tall. They are big, powerful creatures, and they are about the only thing that can traverse these mountains with any regularity. Anything else going through the mountains is going to just either fall prey to creatures that live in the mountains or fall prey to the dangers of trying to scale so many sheer slopes. So the only thing left is the pass.
Okay.
Now, you are noticing that like the sides of the pass, the walls and everything are changing on the map. You haven't noticed any dugouts, any places to hide, especially for a company this large, anywhere where you could find a place to make camp other than just the pass itself.
Okay.
So is there anything that anybody wants to make sure they get done in the next 2 days, or any further activity, or do you guys just want to fast forward to the big part?
It's not something that we that necessarily stopping for, but Luther would actually be keeping an eye out for, lack of a better word, bolt holes.
Okay.
Places, caves into the mountain that are not necessarily looking directly on the edge of the I guess the valley that we would be in.
Okay.
But like places where they could actually conceivably have hidden in. Because he's not, I know that the front guys are dealing with most of that stuff,
right?
But he's thinking of things that are not necessarily the guys that are on the other side, but the stuff that might come out just because they're
right.
Their banditry or other items.
Right. You do notice a couple small bolt holes here and there. You also notice that around many of them there seems to be scorch marks.
So they're just purging with fire.
Kill it with fire. Yep.
Kill it with fire is always a good method.
Yeah.
As
you continue to travel through, you notice that the sky has continually gotten darker. Like the first day, you really didn't notice anything. And then you wake up the second day, and I mean, the sky turns blue, but it never really seems to get all the way to like a midday sun that you would expect. The third day in, the sky is now almost like it's winter time, even though the weather hasn't changed, and it never really seems to get bright. You get obviously bright enough to see, everything is clear, but you never get that brilliantly bright sky that you've all grown up around.
So is it actually becoming colder as we're moving, or is it just like the weather looks like it should be less summer, more winter?
Well, there's no change to the temperature, and there isn't really a change to the weather, and the sky isn't overcast. It's just
getting
darker. It's not bright. It's, to put it in a more modern term that most of us or streamers would understand, that the gamma of the sky isn't set as high. Just for some reason, every hour that you go into the pass, like in the morning it gets brighter, but doesn't seem to get as bright as you think it should. And then from midday on, every hour you travel, it gets just a little darker, just a little darker, gets rapidly darker towards the end of the day, and when camp is made around dusk the next morning, it never seems to get as bright as it did the day before.
So Luther, I mean, we noticed it's getting darker. Like, do you think this is affecting the plant? Like, do they eat? Do they photosynthesis? Like, do you think this is affecting them?
I mean, I would hope that they eat because they're cooking. It'd be really interesting to run into a cook that doesn't actually eat or have taste buds.
To answer a question, because it was brought up in chat, similar to a lunar eclipse, yes, except that the sun isn't eclipsed, but it's that same level of darker sky.
Getting darker.
Yeah, darker sky that you can't explain. But yeah, so it looks in that similar, just grayed out lunar eclipse type of sky, except that you can see the sun. There's nothing in front of it. It's just not as bright as you'd expect it to be anymore.
After asking Luther that question, as soon as like the next time Twiggy comes by, like to I guess hand out food, if she continues to do so with the two people not in the company, I will just, do you eat? Just straight up, like when you just start handing, do you eat?
You actually see Luther palm his head and shake his head like.
And Cass doesn't.
Everything eats. Twiggy has stew most days. I have a wonderful stew. You guys, come by the tent sometime, and this evening I'll make you a stew. You'll be, mwah, love it. Good stuff.
I like stew.
She produces an apple out of seemingly one many. They go, Echo, look, and scampers off.
Echo will take it.
She apparently knows how to keep the bat on her side.
Apparently, soon the bat's gonna leave my side. I'm gonna just give Echo a little scritch on the head.
But I heard stew, and I think that's a plan.
I agree. Stew's good. Plus, I want to see how it eats. Was that wrong? Like, can you not? I guess that's. I mean, if you don't ask a person, you don't eat. So I guess that is wrong.
There's being blunt, and then there's being Cass.
Should I apologize? Probably.
Probably.
But would that draw more attention to it? Should I just let it be?
It probably would draw more attention to it, but that's not really the.
Okay, I'll apologize.
Because that's kind of like me coming up to you going, "Hey, Cass, do you breathe?"
But it's a plant.
I mean, they eat.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
Right,
haven't you seen
I'll
those ones that
apologize.
look like they're a bear trap and they catch the little bug in it?
You don't think she's like one of those, do you?
I mean, if she is, I'd be careful where you put your hand.
And then that night when we go get soup, I apologize. I did not mean to insult.
Insult. You have stew. If you insult the stew, you get the spoon. I haven't even tried the stew.
I will take the stew and just kind of like scurry off.
She's got this giant cauldron. The cauldron's a little funny though, because it's on a teepee over a bonfire, but the cauldron itself is not metal. It's leather. And it's just got this gigantic spoon in there, and I'm stirring with this large motion of the spoon, and then I let go of the spoon to go do something else, and the spoon keeps stirring. I go get my bowls, and I'm like, haha, stew! And I pour the stew with it, grab the spoon, stop it stirring, giant ladles full into bowls, and I go, what are you? And we have candied apricot for Echo.
Echo will hop up and take it from you.
Cass, I think she really is trying to get Echo from you.
I think she is.
I have a bowl of it myself. Mine doesn't have the chunks in it that yours might. Mine's mostly broth, and I just
okay.
In a single. Yes, very good. Good dream stew. Yes, yes.
Dream stew?
I'm glad I'm.
You have stew, and then you will have good dreams. This is a creamy stew. For gameplay, when you receive something a little creamy, that gives you a +1 on healing check.
Ooh,
Nice.
because you're all hardy.
Or you're good for the sore things of the walking all day and your owie, 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 and the ups and the downs, and the sore. No. Good dreams. You wake up, feel better. Unlike some dismal sun things, they eat the stew with the sun because it keeps going down.
I would pay to see that.
I've tried. I didn't get it very far. Not gonna waste more food trying again. Oh well.
So it is now dusk again, so the company is once again setting up camp. And this will be the last camp that is set up before you reach the other side of the pass. So
This night, as Cass would probably notice, that Luther is not doing what he normally does, because Luther normally, with for lack of a better word, lays about. Like he'll play the music and stuff like that, and he'll do other things, but like he's never never looks like he's trying to get ready. But because of this being the last night before the wall, you will actually see him taking out all of his gear, checking everything. You may, if you're paying close enough attention, you might actually catch that his armor is like his clothing is changing, but he's not actually taking it off. It's just changing what it looks like. It's matching what the soldiers look like.
yeah, you never actually saw him undo his armor at any point or like swap it for anything else in his pack. But at some point during the pass, the hardened leather that you're used to Luther Fox wearing has been replaced by the padded gambesons of the Navarran regular army.
Is this something that I probably would have seen before this moment?
You would probably have seen him change his armor before. You'd probably be aware that his suit of armor at a certain word, he can make it look like any piece of clothing or armor he's ever seen before.
Okay.
But that's the extent you would probably know of what his armor is like. But like today, you've seen him do that. He made himself look like one of the other soldiers, at least in clothing, even if he's not using the same equipment, because he uses a buckler and a rapier. But he would also be sharpening his rapier and going over his equipment, whereas before he would be, for lack of a better word, he would just be kind of moving on a whim, whether he annoyed you or not.
Okay.
So since it's the last night of things, and I've just been scurrying around everywhere doing the logistics of keeping this entire place fed, I am going to purposefully, with bowl of stew in hand, seek out Van and go, "Stew! I didn't see you eat today. Eat the stew."
I take it and I thank you, Twiggy. I haven't actually eaten today yet.
Don't make me hit you with my spoon.
There's a lot of things that require attention.
Yeah. Lots of things ahead. Have you heard from the front? Anything back yet? Message? Anybody?
Well, more importantly, I haven't heard the captain screaming, so I would take that as a good sign.
But if they met enemies, they would send back and say, "Hey, we found the enemy. We need to set up and start lobbing the things, because that's what we have here, to lob the thing." Right? That's how that works.
Yeah, we need to get A little bit closer, I think. But generally, this is about where we're going to set them up. Yeah.
Okay, I just mean we didn't have anything beforehand. Nothing was there that we didn't expect to be there. Right? So far, so good?
Yes. So far, so good. Yeah.
Okay. As this is going to be the last night before, before you guys reach Klendathu, for those of you that have spells, preparations, or anything like that, make sure that you have noted on your cards what it is that you're going to have prepped for the next day. Because next day it's going to be more important.
As we're walking, and this is something I'm going to probably just do continuously because it's going to be one of my main spells, at least in the beginning. I am actively looking for things that I would think range from pound to 5 pounds, like rocks.
Okay.
Things like that. And if there's a ton of them on the ground, then I'm not even worried. If it's like
There's
very few and far between, I might start picking some up just so I have them ready.
No, there's a good number of them. I mean, the pass is cleared of threats, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's cleared of rubble. So,
Okay.
I mean, there's enough small rocks here and there pretty much everywhere that you don't have to worry about, stacking the deck, as it were.
Right. Okay. Then I'm not too worried. As long as I see that there's stuff that I can use, then I'm like, okay, this should be fine.
Okie doke. So, the next morning, when you awake, you notice that even though it is dawn and you've seen the sun just barely shining light through the pass, it is still almost like a dusk light level of light. And as you go for a few more hours, it never really seems to go beyond dusk. After a few more hours travel, you hear a horn sound ahead, and you see the men quickly start to take the timbers that were placed in the wagons and start to lay out where the trebuchets are going to be set up. And as they lay out where the trebuchets are going to be, you see some Navarran mages enchanting over the trebuchets, and they start to tick themselves together, standing up, making the arms of the trebuchet, making the ballast, and they just start to almost erect themselves in almost like a stop motion jitteriness.
Does it make a sound? Does it go?
It doesn't sound like Autobots, but it does sound almost like the snapping of trees or trees falling. But
Like the creaking and stuff like that.
Like the creaking, right. But almost in reverse at the same time. And you see things moving up. You see the banding and the lashing snaking its way around the pressure points. The engineers are actually going over and with giant mauls punching in, iron pitons to make sure that things are secured fully. But siege engines that would have taken hours to build erect themselves in a matter of minutes.
While this is going on, because as you said, things have been getting darker, I want to test something if I can.
Okay.
I'm going to just pick up just something off the ground.
Okay.
I'm going to cast light on it. Is it just the sun that is darker, or is the light source that I am currently holding darkened as well?
It is just the sun. The rock that you have lit has the same number of lumens that you would expect from the spell in any normal situation.
So it's almost blinding at this point, because things have been getting so much darker that this is just almost a spotlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are now radiating light effectively.
Okay, so then as soon as I catch that, I'll cut it off. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to. I'm just
You would've-
testing.
You would have done that. Luther would have looked at you and said something along the lines of, "What are you doing?" and would have covered it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that it would be dulled as much as possible, like via a cloak or something, just to stop that, just to stop the light from shining as much.
Right.
I just wanted to test. I'll at that point, as soon as he does that, I'll realize what I've done and cut it. I just testing, wanted to see what's going on.
And now we move over to the other map.
Oh no. Not the other map.
Yes, the other map.
Should we move our characters more towards the back then?
Well, you guys can right now establish where you want your characters to be. This map is going to detail the area from the front of the siege machines, the barricade that's erected in front of them, and then the lines in front of that. So you can put your characters in any position in these areas that you so choose. There is no visible threat at the moment. There is no visible anything at the moment. You can see torches and some light sources from the detachment ahead of you, but the front detachment itself, you can see nothing at this point. You can, however, even though you are several hundred meters away, you can in fact see the Black Gate.
I assume it looks like basically a giant shadow.
It is a dark stone gate. It's impossible to tell what kind of stone it's made out of, but where the Navarran gate had like sculptures of angelic figures around the portcullis and stuff like that, the other gate, from what you can see here, more appears to be very Gothic in architecture. You can see the parapets and minarets are all pointed. You can see that what you hope, is large sculpted gargoyles on the wall. Again, hope, because those are big wings. So it is most definitely an entirely different look and feel than where you came from. For those who are Games Workshop aficionados, assume you just went from Bretonnian architecture to Imperial architecture. The siege engines are loaded, and everyone is in position, and everyone waits for the order to fire. What do you do?
When is the last time anyone's seen this wall?
The
This
other
was-
side of the wall?
Like no, like actually have gotten to this wall.
This is the last month or so. The detachments have gotten this far, and that's why there was call for the final push. But as far as like getting through the Black Gate into Haegrillon, it's been almost 130 years.
Gotcha. Luther would be trying to keep an eye out for pretty much anything that looks like it's flying out from over the wall, or really he's just mostly keeping his head on a swivel because he doesn't know what to look for.
Okay. Ace,
Yes.
Your character, there is something unnerving you. It might have been the dreams you had last night. It might be just the ominous feeling of all of this, but you sometimes get visions, sometimes get these moments at night, almost like prophetic dreams. I mean, consider it a racial tendency.
Fair enough.
But you kept getting something like when you wake up, you don't always remember exactly what you heard.
Deja vu is what I'm kind of getting.
But it felt like not enough. You know that's not what it was, but it sounds almost like that. And you just feel that repeating in your head as you watch everyone get into position for the attack.
He's just gonna. Gray's probably the only. Or, no, sorry. Luther's probably the only one that hears him just kind of mumbling those words. Just not enough. Not enough. Just kind of mumbling it. Almost not like sitting, rocking type of thing, but just kind of mumbling it since it's in my head. Just thinking about it.
Okay.
What do you mean, not enough?
I don't know. I can't shake the feeling. Just not enough.
You hear a horn sound, and the trebuchets fire. 50-pound stones fly through the air, and as soon as they leave the trebuchets, you see them be struck with magic as they leave. Some of them begin to glow radiantly. Others take on additional effects. They're airborne for several seconds. And then strike the wall.
Well, Captain, it looks like we've begun knocking.
Now is when the fun begins, isn't it? The trebuchets begin to bear down again to reload. And several seconds after the first stones struck, you hear a tremendous crash. Not from the artillery that was hitting the wall, but it almost appears from something on the other side of the wall, blowing holes through the wall. And you see dust and debris get kicked up. Not enough to obscure your vision. You're several hundred meters away, but you're close enough to see that there is a cloud of dust and smoke where the wall should be. Seconds after that, you hear battle cries from the front unit, and you see pinpoints of darkness, shapes flying through this cloud of rubble, and beginning an assault on the front units.